What does the ultimate PS3 look like? How about one that's been updated with solid-state storage, is running on full custom firmware, can play your digital movie files and even download the artwork from the internet for them, play your MP3 files and download the cover art for the albums, can do all of this from an official first-party Bluetooth remote from Sony, can play your PS3 games right off your solid-state hard drive, can play your PS2 games from your solid-state drive, your PS1 games from the solid-state drive, and even play tens of thousands of your favorite retro classic games. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to build this ultimate PlayStation 3 and use multiMAN and Showtime to launch your content, and we're starting now. Be sure to check the video description for important show notes and updates. You'll also find links and products featured in the video there. For this ultimate PlayStation 3 build, I'm using a PlayStation 3 Slim. You can use any of the 3 PlayStation models you want, but the PlayStation Super Slim is not fully custom firmware jailbreakable. And to make easy work of this project, I'm busting out the iFixit Pro Tech Toolkit. It's got everything you need inside to open up and work on this console and many others. Check out the link in the description below to pick up one of these incredible toolkits. Let's get that old platter spinning hard drive out of the PlayStation 3 and put in a solid state drive. In this case, I'm going to max out the storage with a full 1TB solid state drive. The first step in the process is to remove the screw in the bottom that holds the hard drive in place. It's often called the blue screw. There's a trapdoor underneath this slim, and once you pull it open with your thumbnail or fingernail, you can easily access this screw. It's a Torx screw and you'll need an appropriate tool. Take the screw out and set it off to the side. Rotate the console so you can see the front of it. To get this access plate off, just slide it to the right and pull forward. It comes right off. To remove the hard drive, reach in and grab the wire clasp, then pull straight up and out. To remove the hard drive from the cage, you'll need a small Phillips head screwdriver. There are 4 Phillips head screws holding the hard drive to the cage assembly. Take each of them out one at a time. Once you have the 4 screws out, flip the hard drive and cage assembly back over. The hard drive rests in a lip on one side of the cage, and then the other side of the cage is flat. Just lift up from the flat side and then rotate the hard drive out from under the lip to free it from the hard drive cage assembly. I'm installing a Western Digital 1TB solid-state hard drive in this PlayStation 3. If you want one for yourself, I have it linked for you in the description below. Be sure to check it out. To install the SSD into the cage, all you have to do is take the SSD, insert it into the lip on the cage, and then rotate it straight down to sit flush with the cage. Then flip the cage over. The solid-state drive will have the same mounting holes as the hard drive. Just put each of the screws back in place and tighten them down. And you may find that starting them in by hand might make it a little easier to avoid stripping the screws or the mounting holes. Insert the solid-state drive and mounting cage back into the PlayStation 3 with an extra press just to make sure it all seats properly. To reattach the front cover plate, set it just off to the right of the PlayStation 3's face and then slide it to the left to lock it into place. Rotate the console face down and reinsert the hard drive mounting screw, the blue screw, back into place using the Torx bit. Rotate the screw cover plate and then press it straight down to lock it into place. The solid state drive's installed, but we still need to install the official firmware onto it for the PlayStation 3 to boot. Here's how that's done. You can download the official firmware for PlayStation 3 from the Sony PlayStation 3 website, linked in the description below. There's something very peculiar about how this website operates though. You can click on this download button as many times as you want, and it just doesn't seem to download the firmware file. Here's a way around that to be able to get the firmware download. Right-click on the download button and copy the link itself. Take the link that you just copied from the download button and paste it in the address bar of your browser. In this case, I'm using Google Chrome. Once you have the address pasted in the address bar, press the return key on your keyboard, and the firmware will download from there. If you're going to use a USB drive larger than 32 GB, download the GUIFormat software linked in the description below. This makes it possible for Windows to format volumes larger than the 32 GB in FAT32. I'm using a SanDisk Cruiser Fit 128 GB drive for this setup. It doesn't stick out of the front of the PS3, and it's compatible with both the PS3 and PC. I have it linked for you in the description below if you need one for your setup. If you're using a USB drive larger than 32 GB, you'll need to use GUIFormat. I found that the best success for formatting through GUIFormat comes from formatting your large size USB drive in exFAT through Windows first. Right-click on the drive, then select Format from the list of options in the pop-up. In the format window that appears, you can leave all of the options set to the default settings. click the Start button on the bottom of the window and you'll get a confirmation prompt that appears. Then at the confirmation prompt, click OK to format the USB drive. And once the drive is formatted, click OK to close the confirmation message, then click the red X in the top corner of the Format tool. Then navigate to the Downloads folder and double-click on GUIFormat to launch the program. Then at the UAC prompt, click Yes to continue. The only setting you really need to be concerned with is just to check the top left corner and make sure that you have the proper drive letter selected for your USB drive. Otherwise, you might format a drive you don't intend to format. Once you have that checked, go to the bottom and click on Start. Then at the confirmation prompt, click OK to continue and start the format. Once your USB drive is formatted, click the Close button in the bottom right corner of GUIFormat to close out of the program. To copy over the official firmware to your USB drive, right-click on the root of the USB drive, select New, then click on Folder. You'll need to create a new folder on the root of the USB drive and name it PS3 in all capital letters. Now double-click on the newly created PS3 folder. Inside that folder, right-click, select New, and select Folder. Create a folder in here and name it Update, UPDATE in all capital letters. Navigate to the newly created Update folder and double-click on it. Now you can go to your Downloads folder, grab the official firmware for your PlayStation 3 system, and paste it into the folder under the path PS3/Update. You can close out any instances of File Explorer in your PC, eject the USB drive, and insert it into the rightmost USB port on your PlayStation 3. Power on your PlayStation 3 and press the PlayStation button on your controller. At the System Software license screen, press right on the D-pad. Use the D-pad to scroll the highlight down to Accept and press the X button. And at the confirmation screen, press the X button to start the installation of the official firmware. When the console restarts, you can set settings such as the HDMI connectivity, your time zone, the date and time, username, and your internet connectivity settings. Then your console will boot to the cross media bar and your solid state drive is set up and ready to go. Now let's get this PS3 jailbroken. With your PlayStation 3 connected to the internet, go to Settings, scroll down to Date and Time, select it with X, and then come down to Set Date and Time over the internet. You'll need to set the date and time in order for everything to work correctly in this process moving forward. Next, turn off automatic updates to make sure your custom firmware doesn't get disrupted by an official firmware update again. Scroll back up to System Settings, select it with X, select Automatic Update, and make sure that this option is turned off by scrolling to No with the D-pad and pressing X. Most of the process of setting up the jailbreak for your PlayStation 3 on 4.88 goes through the internet browser. On the cross media bar, scroll over until you see Internet Browser and select it with the X button. We'll need to do some basic setup and configuration for things to work successfully. You'll need to enable cookies for this process to work. Press triangle, go up to Tools, go to Cookies and make sure that this is enabled. You'll also need to enable JavaScript. Press triangle, go up to Tools, scroll down to JavaScript, and make sure that this setting is enabled. You'll need to turn off browser closing confirmation. Press triangle, go up to Tools, scroll down to Confirm Browser Close, select it with the X button, change this setting to Off and press X. Set your browser's homepage to blank. Press triangle, go up to Tools, scroll down to Homepage and select it with X. Use the D-pad to come down to Blank Page, select it with X, and then select OK. There are 4 things you need to clean out here. Press triangle and go up to Tools, scroll down to Delete Cookies, select it with X, then slide over to Yes and select it with X. Again, press triangle, go up to Tools, scroll down to Delete Search History, slide over and select it with X. Back up to Tools, then scroll down until you get to Delete Cache, select it with X, and then Yes. Last one, triangle and Tools, scroll down to Delete Authentication Information and select Yes. Now that your browser is squeaky clean, press the circle button to go back to the cross media bar. At this point, launch the internet browser again because we're going to go straight to the PS3 exploit website. Press the Start button on the controller and type in PS3XPLOIT.com. Then press Start to go to the website. From here, you should bookmark this page to make it easy to access later. Press the Select button, press X on Add, and then press X again to add it to your bookmarks. Use the left analog stick on the controller to move the pointer to BG Tools on the top menu set, then scroll down to Main Site and select it with the X button. At the plugin pop-up message, select Yes, navigate down to and select Do Not Display Again with X, and then press X to continue. It's a good idea to bookmark this side as well. Press the Select button on your controller, and then Add to Bookmarks, press the X button, and then press X again to save it. Wait for the sound of 3 beeps from your PlayStation console and you'll see a new menu appear in the top left corner. This means the BG toolset is active. Use the pointer to click on Flash Memory Manager with the X button. Along with starting the Flash Memory Manager, the toolset's going to check and see if you have a custom firmware compatible PlayStation 3. If you have a Super Slim, you don't. If you have a Slim, you probably do, and if you have a Fat, you absolutely do. Look for the green check mark. If you see a green check, you're good to go, you can proceed forward. If you have a red X here, don't sweat it, we can still install Hen. Check the link in the description below. Insert a USB drive formatted in FAT32 format into the rightmost USB port on your PlayStation 3. Right underneath where the green checkmark lives, navigate to Flash Memory and select it with X, then select Save Flash Memory Backup with the X button. In the list of options that appear, use the left analog stick to move the pointer down to the one that says dev_USB000 and select it with the X button. That's your USB drive that you inserted into your PlayStation 3. Then click on Save to start the backup process. It should only take a few moments to complete. Once it's done, the cursor should automatically move down to Close in the bottom right corner. Just press X on Close once the process is complete. You should make sure you have a quality backup of your system before proceeding. Remove the USB drive from your PlayStation 3, put it into your PC, and power on your PC. But don't power off your PlayStation 3, keep it turned on and leave it right where it is. We'll be back to it in just a moment. The tool you need to check your backup is called PS3 Checker. It's on the GitHub and linked in the description below. Scroll down on the page to the download link and click it to grab the most recent version. You'll need a piece of custom firmware in order to jailbreak your PlayStation 3. In this case, it's listed on the PSX-Place website and linked in the description below. We'll be using the EvilNat version 4.88 custom firmware. Click on this link, but keep this page open because you'll need that MD5 or serial number in order to confirm its validity in just a moment. The download's hosted at the mega.nz website. Click the green download button to get the latest version of the custom firmware. No PlayStation 3 should be without multiMAN. Among the many talents it has, you can back up your disc directly onto your hard drive and play them right off the drive. Scroll down on the page until you see the download section, then look for the one called multiMAN Base 4.85.01. Then click on the download link to the right to grab the latest version. And while you have your browser open, go ahead and click on the link for onlinemd5.com. We'll be using this tool in just a moment for some key tasks. In your Downloads folder, you'll have the PS3 Checker, which you'll need to uncompress. Extract it here, and then delete the compressed folder to eliminate clutter. Now you can navigate into the PS3 Checker folder you just uncompressed. The goal is to take the dump.hex file on the USB drive and drop it right on top of the dumphere.batch file inside the PS3 Checker folder. So let's set that up. On the left, it's the USB drive with dump.hex, and on the right is the PS3 Checker folder. Grab the dump.hex file and drop it right on top of the dump here batch file. It'll run a series of checks, and what you're looking for is to find 0 number of dangers and 0 number of warnings. If you find anything other than zeros here, redump your PlayStation 3. Now you can X out of PS3 Checker. The whole point of backing up your PlayStation 3 is to have a backup of your PlayStation 3. Grab the dump.hex file and put it somewhere on your PC for archiving. Then you can delete everything else off the USB drive. Staying focused on the USB drive, let's get things set up for success. Create a new folder right on the root and name it PS3. Then go into the PS3 folder and make a new folder and call it Update, UPDATE. This is where the custom firmware goes on your USB drive so that your PS3 can read it. Navigate back to your Downloads folder. Uncompress the custom firmware file that you previously downloaded. Then delete the compressed file to eliminate clutter. Go into the folder that you just uncompressed and keep drilling in until you find either PS3updat.pup or any other custom firmware file you might have chosen. Make sure to rename it PS3updat.pup. Copy that file, Then navigate back to the USB drive and paste it inside the PS3/update/folder. Go back to the Downloads folder. Remember that you downloaded multiMAN? It's already there in a package file format. Right-click on the PKG file and copy it. Go back to the USB drive and then paste multiMAN right on the root of the USB drive. When you downloaded the evil NAT file, you got a text document that has that MD5 number in it. It's the same number that was on the website earlier. Double-click into the text file that came with the custom firmware. Double-click the MD5 number you see there. Right-click on it and pick Copy. And if you didn't get that file, remember that that MD5 number is on the website where you downloaded the custom firmware. Now go back to the online MD5 Checker. Near the top center of the page, you'll see Choose File. Click on it so that you can open up the file browser and select the custom firmware. But make sure you grab the custom firmware you put on the USB drive, not the one in the Downloads folder, as the one in the USB drive is the one you'll be copying over to your PlayStation 3. Paste the checksum or MD5 number you copied from the text file right underneath the download, and then click on Compare. If you get a green check, everything's good to go. If you get a red X, do not install the custom firmware onto your console. Now your USB drive is ready to go. You can safely eject it from your PC and put it into the rightmost port on your PS3. You'll be back at the BG Toolset website. In the list of options, use the pointer to click on Flash Memory Patch, then scroll down to where it says Load Patch from HTTPS and select it with the X button. It's the installation and application of this patch that makes it possible for you to install the custom firmware of your choice. Once it's finished loading up, the cursor should automatically come down to the Close button. Select Close with the X button to continue. Click on Flash Memory Patch again, then come down to Apply Loaded Patch and select it with X. Then when prompted, select Yes with the X button. This will install the patch to your system. When the process is complete, select Close with the X button to continue. Back at the Tools main menu, you can press the circle button to close out and go back to the PlayStation Cross Media bar. Power off your PlayStation 3 and power it back on so the patch can take effect. With your system powered back on, the patch will now be applied and working. Now you can install the custom firmware just like you would any other system software update. Go to the System Software Update, Update via Storage Media, and you'll see the custom firmware for EvilNAT here. Select OK to run the installer and run the software update process just like you would for any other software update at this point. You can expect your PlayStation 3 to restart a couple of times during the update process. When it comes back online, you'll be on the 4.88 custom firmware, but don't forget to install that multiMAN because it's a huge benefit and value add to your PlayStation 3 now that it's jailbroken. Scroll over through the Cross Media bar to the Games tab. Scroll down to the newly installed Package Manager. Select it with the X button to continue. Use the D-pad to scroll down until you see Install Package Files. Then select Install Package Files with the X button to continue. You'll see the USB drive represented here as the word Standard. Select that with the X button. Then you'll see the package file for multiMAN. Select it with the X button to begin the installation process. This package is a very fast install that only takes a few seconds. Once it's done with the installation process, press the circle button on the controller to go back to the Cross Media bar for your PlayStation 3. And you'll see multiMAN right underneath the package installer. Select it with the X button to launch it for the first time. multiMAN will do a basic setup of key files that it needs to operate correctly. Once the files are set up and ready to go, multiMAN will launch for the first time. Hey, if you're seeing value in this video, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on great original content as it's posted to the channel. You'll also join our incredible community of gamers, and you belong here with us. Let's get some movie files set up on your ultimate PlayStation 3. I've got two files here in MP4 format. Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight and Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. In order for your PlayStation 3 to be able to recognize your movie files, download box art, and screenshot previews, you'll need to name these files in accordance with a particular website. The website's called themoviedb.org. It's linked for you in the description below. To find the name you'll need for the movie file, go to the search bar and type in the closest approximation you have for it. Press the Enter key on your keyboard and you'll be presented with the closest match to the search term you entered. This is the correct movie I'm looking for, so I'm going to grab this text exactly as shown in the listing and copy it over to the file name. Note that Windows doesn't like special characters like colons in file names, so if the movie you're looking for has that, just delete that portion out of the title. It'll be fine. Repeat this for any movies that you want to copy over to your PlayStation 3 and get the automatic box art and screenshot downloads. Once you have your movies named correctly, you can copy them over to USB media and transfer them over to your PlayStation 3. Here's how that's done. When we finished the jailbreak process, it left us at the multiMAN main menu. Navigate over to the home area for multiMAN and launch the File Manager. In File Manager, use the right thumbstick to move the arrow up to the box at the top left corner that says PS3 Root and double click on it with the X button. Use the right thumbstick to move the arrow and the highlight down to DevUSB000 and double click on it with the X button. Here are the two movies you saw previously inside Windows. To select them, use the right thumbstick to move the arrow and the highlight to them and select them with the X button to highlight each movie. Press the circle button and you'll get a new pop-up menu. It will already be highlighted on the one you need, which is Copy. Select it with X. Use the right thumbstick to move up to the folder with the dots to go backwards. Keep pressing on it until you get back to the list of devices and select DevHDD000 and double click on it with the X button. Place your movie files in the DVD ISO folder by highlighting it with the right thumbstick and double clicking on it with the X button. Press circle to pull up the pop-up menu and select Paste from the pop-up menu with the X button. Slide to the left with the D-pad to choose Yes and select it with the X button. Once you have the movie files copied over, use the right thumbstick to move the cursor over to Game and double-click on it with the X button to go back to the multiMAN main menu. To watch your movies inside multiMAN, scroll to the left of Video and select Start Showtime Media Center with the X button. On a side note, you can play your movies over USB if you want to add additional titles beyond the 1TB storage limit of your PlayStation 3's internal SSD. Select PS3 HDD from the list of choices inside Showtime and scroll down in the menu to DVD ISO. With your PS3 still connected to the internet, you'll get the box art and screenshot previews of the movies that you have copied over to your hard drive or load up over USB. Then you can use the PS3 controller or the PS3 Bluetooth remote and select the movie you want to watch. Got some MP3s you want to copy over to your PlayStation 3 for an ultimate media center? Check this out. Copy your music over to your USB drive. In this case, I've got two albums here. Fallen by Evanescence and Human After All by Daft Punk. I've only copied over the MP3 files for the songs themselves. There's no cover art or anything else in here because I'm going to let Showtime pull that cover art automatically. Once you have your albums and MP3s copied over to USB, close out File Explorer and put the USB back in the rightmost port on your PlayStation 3. While still inside multiMAN, launch File Manager again. Just like with movie files, navigate up to PS3 Root in the top left corner using the right thumbstick and double-click on it with the X button. Use the right thumbstick to move the arrow and highlight down to DevUSB000 and double-click on it with the X button to select it. Inside here is where you'll find those folders that you previously copied over to your USB drive. Use the right thumbstick to move the arrow and the highlight to each of the album folders and select each of them with the X button. Press the circle button for the pop-up menu and select Copy with the X button. Go to the top folder with the dots on it and double-click it with the X button. In the list of choices, scroll down to DevHDD000 and double-click on it with the X button. In the list of folders here, you'll want to copy your music over to Music. Double-click the Music folder with the X button. And while inside the Music folder, press the circle button and select Paste from the list of choices. Then slide to the left for Yes and select Yes to confirm the copy over of the folders. Once you have your music files and folders copied over, use the right joystick to select Game and double-click on it with the X button to go back to the multiMAN main menu. While this seems a little counterintuitive, don't go to Music to launch your music. Go to Video and select Start Showtime Media Center. The idea is we're not only going to centralize where video and music content's played, but also make it easy to get the artwork. Scroll back over to PS3 HDD and select it with the X button. Inside a list of folders, scroll down to Music and select Music with the X button. Find the album that you want from the folders that you copied over. In this case, I'm going to start with Fallen by Evanescence. You'll see that the song names, the artist, and the amount of time on the songs are listed here. Select the song you want to play with the X button. You'll see it show up on the bottom of the screen along with the album art cover. Let's get into copying your games over to the PlayStation 3 hard drive. Starting with PlayStation 3 games. Grab a PlayStation 3 disc that you want to install on your PlayStation 3 hard drive. Then use the D-pad to scroll over in the cross-media bar until you get to the Games section. Insert the PlayStation 3 disc into your system. I'll be demonstrating this process with Ridge Racer 7 for the PlayStation 3. Once you have the game loaded in your system and it shows up in your menu, press the triangle button. Use the D-pad to move the arrow to copy and select Copy with the X button. You'll get a menu that pops up asking you where you want to copy your disk. In this case, it'll be the internal hard drive, so select it with X. Then use the D-pad to move over to Yes to confirm the copy and select it with the X button. The copy process can take from a few minutes up to an hour or a little more depending upon the size of the game. When the copy over to the hard drive is complete, you'll get a confirmation page and you'll be prompted to press the square button to continue. You'll find that there are actually 2 copies of the game showing now, one in disk form and one installed on the hard drive. Eject the PlayStation 3 disc from your system now. It's actually still going to show that there's a disk and a hard drive copy of the game in the Games section. Let me show you how to fix that. On the cross-media bar in multiMAN, use the D-pad to scroll all the way to the left. Then press the up button several times and you'll see Restart, but only the restart for multiMAN. Slide to the left and select Restart with Yes. This is just going to restart multiMAN, not the entire PlayStation 3 system. Then when you come back up to the cross-media bar, you can scroll back to the right to the Game section and the only one you're going to see is the hard drive copy. Then you can launch it with the X button whenever you're ready to play. We looked at how to copy over your PlayStation 3 disc to your PlayStation 3 hard drive to play your games without the disc, but PlayStation 2 games have a slightly different process. Insert your PlayStation 2 disc into your PlayStation 3 system. Once the game is identified by multiMAN, press the triangle button, but this time instead of going to the copy function, you want to come down in the menu listing until you see Create ISO. Select it with X and then select the hard drive with X. An ISO or ISO file is just a perfect imaged copy of a disk. Your PlayStation 3 can read these ISO files exactly as if it was the physical disk. Just like with the PlayStation 3 discs, once the copy process is complete, you'll get a confirmation message. Simply select OK with the X button to continue. Just like with the PlayStation 3 games, you may see more than one listing for the game as you have the disc and the hard drive copy. Eject the disc. And just like before, you'll need to restart multiMAN in order to clear out any extra listings inside the Games section. Scroll all the way to the left to the MMCM section, select Restart, and select Yes. When multiMAN is restarted, again scroll over to the right, but this time you need to skip over the section that says Games. PlayStation 2 and all other content besides PS3 are kept in the Retro section, just like you see right here. By the way, all of this cover art to this point has been downloaded automatically with this PlayStation 3 connected to the internet. If you want to play backups of your PlayStation 1 games, you'll need to back those up using your PC, and ImgBurn is the way to do that. It's linked for you in the description. In my experience, the best of the download links is the mirror directly from ImgBurn. Click that link to download ImgBurn and then run the installer for your PC. From your Windows desktop, either from the shortcut on your desktop or from the Windows Start button, launch ImgBurn. Once ImgBurn loads into your system, you'll need to insert your PlayStation 1 disc into your optical drive. Once the disc is loaded, move the mouse pointer up to Create Image File from Disk and select it. You need to tell ImgBurn where you want to create the files and also what you want to name it. Especially with naming the files now, it's going to save you a ton of headaches and aggravation moving forward. To choose your location, click the icon at the end of the destination line. Then choose the location on your computer where you want to create the image backup. In this case, I'm going to use Drive D. It's a 1 terabyte data backup drive on my computer. Click the Save button to lock in your location. It's going to create 2 files by default, image.bin and image.q. Now is a good time to rename them so you don't get confused later when you have a bunch of files called image. The PlayStation 1 game I've inserted here is Tony Hawk 2, so I'm going to rename this file, wait for it, Tony Hawk 2. Click OK to lock in the name, and this will also change the name of the upcoming Q file for you as well. Then in the bottom left corner, click this icon to start the imaging process. The process should only take a few minutes to complete. Once it's done, you'll get a confirmation message, along with this fancy jingle letting you know everything's complete. Click the OK button on the confirmation message, Then you can eject the PlayStation 1 game from your computer. With the disk removed, close ImgBurn. We need to get those bin and Q files you created copied over to your PlayStation 3. And we can do that by using the same USB media that you previously used for copying over multiMAN. Locate your image files, the bin and Q file, on your hard drive on your PC. In this case, they're on the data drive. Then insert that same USB drive. From here, it's just a matter of taking those two files, the bin and Q file, and copying them and pasting them right over on the root of your USB drive. From here, you can safely eject the USB drive from your computer and close out all instances of Window Explorer and put the USB drive back in your PlayStation 3 in the rightmost port. Back on the PlayStation 3, you'll find that the game is not listed in the Retro section because you can't run PlayStation 1 games off of USB. Let me show you how to copy them over your hard drive so that you can run them inside multiMAN. There's a file manager built into multiMAN just for these kinds of purposes. Scroll all the way over to the left to MMCM, then select File Manager with the X button to open it. Inside File Manager, you'll find a list of drives and partitions available to you. Use the right thumbstick to scroll down to the one that says Dev USB 000 and double press the X button to open it. That's your USB storage. You'll find the bin and Q files you copied over to your USB drive here. Use the right thumbstick to move that pointer and select both of them with the X button. Then press the circle button. This will pull up a pop-up menu where you can select Copy. Just select Copy with the X button. Use the right thumbstick to move the pointer back to the top folder and double press with the X button. This will take you back to the root of your PlayStation 3 storage. Select Dev HDD0 by moving the pointer and double pressing X. In the list of folders on the hard drive, use the right thumbstick to scroll down to the one that says PSX-ISO and double press the X button to go into it. This is where the bin Q files need to live. Press the circle button on the controller, and in the list of choices, select Paste with the X button. Then move the D-pad to the left and select Yes with the X button to confirm the copy. Once the copy process is complete, press the right one button or the right shoulder button to cycle through the various interfaces for multiMAN until you see the one for the cross media bar. Use the D-pad to scroll over to the right, over to the Retro section once again. Then press the X button on the Refresh option. Now you'll see your PlayStation 1 game listed with all the other games, artwork included, ready to go. Now we can work on saving games through virtual memory cards. They're accessible directly from the XMB or cross media bar of your PlayStation 3. In the Games section, use the D-pad to scroll up until you see a menu listing that says Memory Card Utility. Select it with the X button. In the menu choices that appear, you'll see a listing for Create New Virtual Memory Card. Select that with the X button. You'll be prompted to select whether or not you want to create a virtual memory card for the PlayStation 2 or the PlayStation 1. Let's start with the PlayStation 2. Select it with the X button. You can rename your virtual memory card, and that's a good idea just to help distinguish the difference between the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 memory cards moving forward. Once you've renamed your PlayStation 2 memory card to identify it in the way that you'd like, come down to OK with the D-pad and select OK with the X button to continue. You'll get a notification that the card has been saved to slot number 1. This is done automatically with the PlayStation 2 card. Press the circle button to go back to the XMB. From the list of choices, press the circle button to go back, then scroll up to Create New Internal Memory Card and select it with X. Then from the list of choices, scroll down and create a memory card for PS1. Select it with the X button. Once again, you can rename the memory card to match something that's easily recognizable to distinguish it from the PlayStation 2 card. Once you've renamed the card, press down on the D-pad and select OK with the X button to continue. However, this time it will not automatically assign a slot. You'll have to do this manually. To do this, press the circle button to go back to the cross media bar. You'll land right on the PlayStation 1 virtual memory card. Press the triangle button and from the list of options, assign a slot. In this case, I'm using slot number 2 as slot number 1 is occupied with the PlayStation 2 card. Now that the internal virtual memory cards are set up, let's launch a game. Remember how we selected Tony Hawk 2 from multiMAN? It's listed here as a PlayStation format disc. Select it with the X button, and you'll be up and running with your favorite games in no time, and they'll take advantage of those virtual memory cards we just created. RetroArch for the PS3 is kind of a unique bird. It's not hosted on the RetroArch website, it's hosted at Brewology. On the page, scroll down, and instead of going to the download section like you typically would in Brewology, it's linked in the description. You can grab the official version here. Click on the CEX version to download the package file. Once the download's complete, transition over to your PC's Downloads folder. You'll have the RetroArch package file already in the folder. You should also add a folder with any ROMs that you intend to use in the Downloads folder, and also add a folder with any system files that you intend to use. Insert a USB drive formatted in FAT32 format into your computer. Once the drive pops up File Explorer, you can copy over everything that you have in your Downloads folder, which is your RetroArch package file, any ROMs you intend to use in a folder, and also the system files if you intend to use them. Grab everything in your Downloads folder and copy it over to the root of your USB drive. Once the copy over process is complete, you are done with your PC at this point. You can close out the File Explorer windows and then take out the USB drive and put it into your PlayStation 3 in the rightmost slot, no matter whether you have a 2-port or 4-port PlayStation 3 system. Then power on your PlayStation 3 system because this is where the fun begins. From the cross-media bar of your PlayStation 3, if you're using a PS3 running HEN, activate HEN from the Games section. Then scroll down until you get to the Package Manager and select Package Manager with the X button. From the list of choices inside Package Manager, scroll down until you see Install Package Files and select it with X. Then scroll down to Standard, that's the USB drive. Select Standard with X to continue. You'll find the RetroArch package file here. Select it with the X button to install it. Grab your favorite hot or cold beverage because it takes about 5 minutes for the package file to completely install to your system. Once the package for RetroArch is completely installed, you'll get a confirmation message that the installation is complete. Press the circle button to go back to the cross-media bar. Now you'll see RetroArch on your cross-media bar. Use the D-pad to scroll down to RetroArch and press X to launch it for the first time. RetroArch will install some basic files and folders on your internal hard drive of your system that it needs to operate properly. With your PlayStation 3 connected to the internet, navigate to the Online Updater section and select it with the X button. You can skip the Core Downloader and Core Updater because you just downloaded the most recent version of RetroArch, and there aren't any playlists to update the thumbnails for. You can skip over Content Downloader for now and explore that later. I would recommend that you update any core info files. And perhaps most importantly of all, go down to Update Assets and press X to make sure that you get the most recent set of assets for RetroArch. They do not come natively pre-installed with the package file. Once the assets are completely downloaded and installed, you can optionally update any controller profiles or install any cheats, and hey, no judgments there. I definitely recommend updating the database files. Navigate down to that with the D-pad and select it with X. Next up, navigate down to Update Overlays and select it with the X button. Once that's done, navigate down with the D-pad to Update CG Shaders and select that with the X button. And last on the list is the On-Demand Thumbnail Updater. You can turn this on, but there's not a lot of support for this in the text-based menu for RetroArch on the PlayStation 3. With the online updates complete, press the circle button to go back to the main menu for RetroArch. From here, you should restart RetroArch so it can load all of the assets and other files that you've updated. Scroll down in the listings for the main menu to quit RetroArch and select it with the X button. Back at the PlayStation 3 cross-media bar, select RetroArch again with the X button to go right back into it. If you just want to play your ROMs off of a USB drive, it's pretty straightforward. Navigate down to Load Content and select it with the X button. From the list of drive locations, use the D-pad to scroll the highlighter down until you get to Dev USB 000. Then select it with the X button. That's the USB drive that's in the rightmost port on your PlayStation 3. And from here, you'll see the list of files and folders on your USB drive, including the test ROMs that I've included here. I have ROMs for Genesis, Nintendo, and Super Nintendo. Use the D-pad to move the highlighter down to your ROMs folder and select it with the X button. In test ROMs here, I actually have these each split out into their own folders. So in this case, I'm going to grab NES. Use the D-pad to move down to NES and select it with the X button, or select the ROM folder or ROMs of your choice here. To be the champ, you gotta beat the champ, and I'm going to load Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Use the D-pad to scroll down to the ROM that you want to choose and select it with the X button. You can use these either in zip format or in their native format, in this case which would be .NES files. If they're zipped up, you need to go into the archive and scroll down to the .NES or Famicom file, depending upon which version of the files that you're using. Select the game file with the X button. Then you'll need to select a core. In this case, I'm going to use QuickNES. Select the core that you want to use with the X button. This will load the ROM right off of your USB drive directly into your system for play. That's how you load a game, but it's also helpful to know how to back out of a game so that you can get back to the RetroArch main menu. Luckily, this stuff is pretty much all pre-configured for the PlayStation 3 DualShock controller. All you have to do is take the two thumbsticks on the controller and press them directly inward toward the controller. This will take you to RetroArch's in-game menu. From this point, just use the D-pad to scroll down to close content and select it with the X button. This will take you right back to the RetroArch main menu. If you want to build your own retro game empire on your PlayStation 3 internal hard drive, here's how that's done. You'll need to exit RetroArch and go back to the cross media bar. Scroll down to Quit RetroArch and select it with X. You can copy the content from your USB drive directly to your PlayStation 3 hard drive with multiMAN. Launch it from the cross media bar, and if you don't have it already installed, I have the link to download it for you in the description. Inside multiMAN, select File Manager from the main menu or press and hold the Start and Select buttons for about 2 seconds. Use the right thumbstick to navigate to the icon that says PS3 Root and double-click on it with the X button to select it. This will open up a separate window. Inside this window, you should see a list of drive choices exactly like you did inside RetroArch. To access your USB drive, navigate down to Dev USB 000 and double-click it with the X button. You'll see the folders and files on your USB drive listed here. In this case, I have ROMs in the Test ROMs folder, so I'm going to double-click into it with X. And that's where the subfolders for the ROMs are. If you organize your ROMs into folders, it'll be much easier to move things around. Select the ROMs folder you want to move with the X button, and then press the circle button on the controller. This pulls up a pop-up menu. Select Copy with the X button to copy the ROM folder. To get back to the list of drives, navigate to the folder at the top with the 2 dots and keep double-clicking on it with the X button until you get back to the list of drives. To access your internal hard drive, navigate down to Dev HDD 0 and double-click it with the X button. RetroArch folders and files are stored in a specific location on your hard drive. To access it, navigate down to Game without the S and double-click it with the X button. These folders with seemingly random letters and numbers actually represent games on your system, and in this case, RetroArch is represented by SSNE 10000. Navigate to it with the pointer and double-click it with the X button. Next, navigate into the user directory. It's listed as USRDIR. Select it and double-click it with the X button to enter the directory. Next, select the cores directory and double-click it with the X button to enter in. Finally, to properly store your ROM folders, navigate down to the Downloads section and double-click it with the X button to enter into it. Once inside the Downloads folder, press the circle button to pull up the pop-up menu and select Paste with the X button to paste your ROM folders here. Anytime you attempt to paste files, you'll be prompted to confirm. Select Yes with the X button by sliding to the left with the D-pad and selecting Yes with X. If you need system files for any of the consoles that you want to use, let me show you how to put those on here as well. You'll need to navigate all the way back to the list of drives by double-clicking X on the folder at the top with the 2 dots until you go back in all of the submenu systems until you get back to the list of drives. Back at the list of drives, and with the USB drive still inserted into the rightmost port on your PlayStation 3, select Dev USB 000 by double-clicking it with the X button. One of the challenges you might face is depending upon the name of the folder that you have your system files in, it may or may not duplicate it with one capitalized and one not. The best way to manage this is no matter where you have your system files, go into that folder directly and copy every single one of the system files within there. There is no universal copy all, at least not that I could find. And I sure as heck tried, but I found the easiest thing to do is literally just mark every single one of those by highlighting it and then pressing the X button on each one of them individually. Then press the circle button and in the list of choices, select Copy with the X button. This will copy every single file inside your system folder stored on your USB drive. With everything copied, just like before, you can go all the way up to the top to the folder with the 2 dots and double press on the X button until you get back to the list of drive choices. And again, at the list of drive choices, you'll need to navigate back to your internal hard drive. It's Dev HDD 0. Select it and double-click on it with the X button. And then it's exactly the same path as you previously used. Navigate to Game without the S, double-click on it with the X button. Then inside this folder, go to SSNE 10000 and double-click on it with the X button. Go to the user directory USR-dir, double-click it with X. Then navigate to Cores and double-click on Cores with the X button. You'll already have a system folder pre-configured here by RetroArch. Go to the system folder and double-click on it with the X button. And inside the system folder is where you want to paste all of those files that you just copied. Press the circle button, and in the pop-up menu, select Paste with the X button to copy all of your system files over. Just like before, you'll be prompted to confirm, slide over to the left and select Yes with X to copy those files over. Once your system files are copied over, you're done with the file manager inside multiMAN. You can press and hold the Select and Start button for about 2 seconds and it will take you back to the multiMAN Cross Media Bar menu. From the MMCM Cross Media Bar, navigate all the way to the left to the MMCM setting. Then you can just press up on the controller to get to the bottom of the list, select Quit with the X button. From the PS3 Cross Media Bar, navigate down to RetroArch and select the RetroArch application again with the X button to launch it. From the RetroArch main menu, you'll launch games installed on your hard drive in a very similar fashion to the way that you did from USB, but it's going to be a lot more efficient. Navigate down to Load Content on the main menu and select it with the X button. But this time, instead of having to select a drive, just go down to the folder that says Downloads and click it with the X button. Now you'll find the folders for the ROMs that you've already installed. Then to choose your game, you just navigate to the folder that you want with the D-pad and select it with X. Choose your ROM, and if they're compressed, go into the compressed volume, select the file, and select the emulator of your choice. In this case, I'll be using SNES 9X to launch Super Mario World. With the ultimate PlayStation 3 Media and Game Center in tow, why not check out some other ways to add value to your PlayStation 3? Check out this video here, shown on screen and linked in the pinned comment and description below for more great PlayStation 3 content. I'll see you there.